We had a good amount of people on, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to put everybody on mute, just one second. But once I ask for you all to have question and answer, you'll just press the number 1 on your keypad, and that will let me know that you have a question. So thank you all so much for joining this call. We're going to be talking about Outreach Committee and what that's going to entail, what it's like to do an outreach meeting, some commonly asked questions. We'll go over some talking points, the committee breakdown, how we're going to be tracking all of our outreach opportunities, how to get an outreach meeting, and a little bit about talking points, like I said before. So a little bit about how to do an outreach meeting. So I've done a couple of these for Yes on 2, and generally what I found the format to be is that groups will either approach me or I will reach out to them, and they'll ask for some kind of a 5 to 10 minute spiel about what Yes on 2 is. And this has to include everything from how we got on the ballot to what our question is and what it will do for voters. If you all remember, I sent out just a few hours ago a message all with the talking points in there for Yes on 2, but essentially I always start off with saying a vote on Yes on 2 is a vote to get big money out of politics. This is a volunteer-led effort to help advance the 28th Amendment to get big money out of politics and to overturn Citizens United and related court cases. I also like to mention that this is part of a national strategy to get big money out of politics because we need 38 states in total to pass an amendment, and right now we have 19 states. And then after that, I like to go into a little bit about what Citizens United is, where Massachusetts stands, and then about what a vote on Yes on 2 will do, and about the commission. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm giving a outreach meeting spiel to all of you, and then we'll have a time for you guys to ask questions or give me feedback or whatever. So I'll say, hey everybody, thank you so much for having me. My name is Waboy, and I am from the Yes on 2 committee, and we are working to get big money out of politics. Yes on 2 is a volunteer-led effort to advance the 28th Amendment, which will overturn Citizens United and related court cases to make sure that people are governing again and not money. A little bit about Citizens United. In 2010, there was a case called Citizens United versus the Federal Ethics Commission, Federal Election Commission, or the FEC, in the Supreme Court that essentially decided that corporations have human rights, and that money is speech. And as we all know, money is not indeed speech, it is actually power. And because of this court case, this has allowed millions and millions of dollars to be spent as free speech in elections and influence policy as a result of it. And as a result of this, throughout the nation, lots of policy has come to reflect the opinions of the donors as opposed to the actual voters that elected officials are supposed to be representing. And so because of this, the fight for the 28th Amendment is underway. And the 28th Amendment is the only way and the most permanent solution to this problem that has caused millions and millions of dollars to be spent and allowed for the people to not be heard anymore. The 28th Amendment, a little bit about, and usually I ask the question, does anybody know how an amendment is passed to help break up the me talking so much? So does anybody on the call know how an amendment is passed, what it takes? Press the number 1 if you do on your keypad, and I'll call on you. Aha, John Aram. Okay. How is an amendment passed? You're unmuted.
First, there has to be the Congress, 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate, have to approve a proposed amendment that has very specific wording to it. And when that passes 2/3 of the House and the Senate, it goes to the states, and 3/4 of the states have to approve that specific amendment in order for it to become part of the Constitution.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And thank you for that, John.
There's a time that the initial legislation of the proposed amendment imposes on that approval process.
Right. That's exactly right. Excellent. So yes, so we need 2/3 of the states and 2/3 of both House of Congress to pass this amendment. And there's two ways to do this. And we need 2/3 of the states equates to 38 states, and right now we have 19 states that are all in favor of this amendment to pass the 28th Amendment. And Massachusetts actually already passed legislation right after Citizens United in 2011 in favor of this amendment. But the reason why Yes on 2 was formed and why this is so important is because this ballot initiative will once again firmly place Massachusetts in favor of this amendment, and will also bring to the forefront the importance of election spending and Citizens United to the forefront again, and bring it back into the conversation as one of the really big reasons why our democracy seems to be not representative of the people anymore. Another thing that Yes on 2 does is that it creates a first-in-the-nation Citizens Commission that will study the effects of big money in politics and what the effects of Citizens United and related court cases have done to our democracy. And this Citizens Commission will be made up of everyday, ordinary citizens that apply and are appointed to this commission, and they will make recommendations directly to Congress on how to move forward with passing a 28th Amendment to the Constitution. So this really gives the people, once again, a voice in their democracy and allows the people to be the watchdog of what's going on in terms of spending and being able to really report directly to our lawmakers on what is going on when big money influences our election. And then after I give a little bit of that type of background, I like to go into how the campaign started and a little bit of background about, who we all are. So I always say, we are a volunteer-led campaign. We were able to collect over 100,000 signatures to get us on the ballot since the fall of last year. And we've worked tirelessly to make sure that we're having conversations with people across the state, to Republicans, Democrats, liberals, and independents, because as the data shows, over 80% of Americans, no matter what their political background is, believe that money has too big of an influence in our political system. And that's why we know that this ballot initiative is so important and something that crosses party lines. And then that's pretty much the main spiel of it. But just to go over everything really quickly, start off with what it is, what this will do right in the beginning, and then after that I go into a little bit of history behind Citizens United and how an amendment is passed and how this ballot initiative fits into the national movement to pass the 28th Amendment. And then after that, I go into a little bit about the campaign, how we're volunteer-led, what it took to get us on the ballot, and also talk about the Citizens Commission. And I always make sure to emphasize that this is the first in the nation Citizens Commission of this kind. And then after that, I make sure that I answer any questions. And that's pretty much the general gist of how those go. Does anybody have any questions or feedback for me on that? You can press number 1 on your keypad. Okay, Linda Vieira, you are unmuted. Linda, you can talk.
Oh, sorry. I did not get anything from you about the outline, so I'm wondering if that it was supposed to come from you or for somebody else, or because what you're saying is like, yeah. Where Did everyone else get the outline?
Yeah, I'm looking at the email that I sent, and I did send it to you. I sent it at 3 o'clock today. You might have not seen it, but I sent it to all the captains, and it's the talking points document that I sent out.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll find it.
Okay.
Tell me what it means for the 19 states who have come out in favor of a 28th Amendment. I know Massachusetts passed a resolution. What of the other states?
What are the other 18 states that have done this?
Yeah. What have they done? Massachusetts passed a resolution that's that says that they're in favor of overturning Citizens United. What have other states done?
They've done similar things. So they've done either ballot initiatives and passed the resolution that way, or just sent it to the legislature. Where you can go to find all of this information about the 19 states, if you're curious, and who the other states are, go to the website United, the number 4, thepeople.org, and that is a really, really great website. And that shows all of the states that are in favor, and it also shows it breaks down the states that maybe the state as a whole hasn't passed the resolution, but it shows the local resolutions that have been passed in that state as well. So over 800 cities and towns throughout the nation have passed a resolution behind to pass the 28th Amendment in 19 states overall. So United is the number 4, thepeople.org. That's a really great resource that people will often ask this type of a question to me. And of course I can't go through all 18 states in that short amount of time, and also I don't know them off the top of my head. But you can always point them to that website. United is the number 4, thepeople.org. Great.
Okay.
Awesome. Joanne, you are unmuted.
No, What was the name of the site again, website?
United, the number 4, thepeople.org.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, I have a couple of other, sorry, Joanne. You're unmuted again. Do you have another question?
Oh, no.
Okay. John, you are unmuted.
Hello?
Yes.
So I have a question about these legislatures that have approved the idea of a constitutional amendment. Is that binding on their legislators in the Congress? And secondly, would our initiative be binding on our senators and representatives?
So the legislation that's already been passed in Massachusetts, I believe, is non-binding. If I'm not wrong, check out that website, unitedforthepeople.org. That'll tell you for sure. The other states that have passed are, I think, five of the states I know for sure are binding, and the others are not. But so that's what I know. But check out that website, unitedthenumber4thepeople.org.
Would issue 2 be binding when it's approved?
No, I do not believe it's binding. This is more just because I don't believe Massachusetts' initial resolution was binding in the first place. This is just kind of reaffirming this. But question 2 is really like what it's establishing is a Citizens Commission. That's what's most important.
So a lot of these state resolutions are non-binding. 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House is maybe more than 34 states, because we can't assume that 100% of every delegation would favor the constitutional amendment, even if their legislature had passed or their ballot initiative had passed to support it.
Yeah. This is true, and these are all like very, very important questions that unfortunately I don't have the direct answer to. I would reach out to the American Promise Council. His name is Johannes Epka. I can send his information to you all in the email. The wrap-up email tomorrow. But he is a really great resource on all of those legal questions that are really important. Okay, we have Anna. Anna, you have a question. You're unmuted. Or Ann, sorry, Ann Shea.
Ann, okay, hi. I have a couple. I just want to make a quick comment, and then I have a question after that.
Okay.
I think that something that's important too is our goal for getting the amendment passed is 2026. Just to give people an idea of how long we plan and we know this will take. And then my question is related to the commission and the significance of the Massachusetts Commission. One thing that I think really motivates the people I've talked to as I was collecting my signatures is the fact that our commission is different from and more significant than any of the other states so far. So I like to really expand on that. And so what I've been saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that this is the first in the nation of this kind, and is that because they're going to work on the wording of the amendment?
Yeah, and also because it's completely citizen-led, so nobody on the commission is paid in any way, shape, or form, and also that this is not going to cost the state anything. That's another question that I've gotten before, and actually something that the opposition might try to talk about. But that's another great thing to bring up. Thank you for saying that. So the commission will be completely made up of regular people, and it's not going to cost the state anything.
Okay, and the fact that, like, people really get excited when I tell them, I just want to make sure I'm right. People really get excited when I say, you know, this commission is going to work on the wording of what we hope will be the final amendment.
Yeah, that's among one of the things they're going to be doing, yes. That's also just studying, you know, the money, how it's flowing, what it's doing in the state, how it's influenced policy, and how this is kind of like a snapshot, a microcosm of what's going on throughout the nation and how it's muddying our democracy.
Yeah, because people do like hearing that.
Yes,
they want to know what they're voting for with this commission.
Yes. Absolutely. Nancy, you're unmuted.
I did have a question, but I think you answered it, Waboy, already.
Okay. Okay, good.
So thanks.
Linda, did I call on you already? Can't remember.
Yeah, I still can't find the email. Who would it have come from? Sorry.
It came from me. It came from me. I'm looking and you're in the.
Yeah.
It came from. Yeah, I can resend it to you. I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, and it's a speaker's talking point, right? Because I got an email that has 3 attachments. Yes on 2 half sheet, yes on 2, and then the yes on 2 dashboard.
Yeah, so that's the email. So it's the copy of yes on 2 dashboard.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Janice, you're unmuted.
Thank you. So my question is, a lot of people that I talk to ask, well, who's going to choose the people on the commission? And I remember reading something that was fairly long and convoluted. It was like the governor and the head of the Senate, the head of the, can you sort of go over sort of in some somewhat easy way, if possible, how those people will get chosen for the commission?
Yeah, so I don't remember the exact offices. I know that the Attorney General has 2 appointments. The governor has, I think, 2 or 3. Basically, a lot like the big offices in the state house, in the state legislature, have appointments. And the actual application process is, I think that the application obviously hasn't been made and hasn't gone out, but it'll be on the Mass State Legislature website. I think it's mass.gov or ma.gov or something like that, ma.gov. And it'll be an application there, and it'll be like, say your name, your occupation, your age, why this is important to you, why you want to be on this commission. And then those offices will be able to choose who is appointed onto the committee.
So can I ask a follow-up question with that?
Sure.
So is it all politicians appointing the people for the commission? Are there any other sort of independent groups that have any say at all?
I don't believe so. That is a question for Johannes, though, because he is a part of the team that dropped the language for it. I'm not completely sure. I see that Larry has his hand up. Maybe he knows. So I'm gonna put him on. Larry, you're unmuted.
Yep, thanks. And I think I can recite all five, but they are all political folks, and they're the 5 top political offices. So and there's 15 people total. Each of these that I'll mention get to appoint 3. So the governor appoints 3, Secretary of State appoints 3, Attorney General appoints 3, the Speaker of the House, and the President of the Senate. So those 5 groups each get 3 appointees from the list of applicants that will be on a website, and you have to apply, and you will say why you want to be on the commission and all that kind of stuff, and then those groups will choose from that list and make the appointment. But they are all political folks that are making those appointments. One thing I would add is that we were talking with our state senator about this just last week, and she got a little bit confused about the language in the bill where it said the Speaker of the House will appoint 3 members and the President of the Senate will appoint 3 members. She read those members as members of the House or members of the Senate, and so we were careful to clarify, no, that meant members to the commission. They're not existing members.
That's a really good point. Thank you, Larry, for that clarification. I wrote that down. Sure. Great. Thank you so much. Lee, you are unmuted.
Hi. On that, I just wanted to say that I would recommend that anyone actually speaking on this actually just read the initiative petition, which is on the People Govern Not Money Yes On To website. You can just see. It's only 4 pages and pretty clear. I find it very useful. I've read it a few times because you will get questions. We also use the first Section 1A is a very good summary of it. To give people the real wording, just saying, so you know, people can all access the actual wording of what we're voting for, and I think speakers may want to do that.
Thank you, Lee. That's a really great point. Okay. Linda, you're unmuted again.
Lee, where was that that you referred to? Where can we find this?
This is on the Yes On To website. So it's peoplegovern. Peoplemoney.org. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Those are really great questions. Thank you, everybody. Something else I forgot to mention really quickly that you should definitely include in your talking points is that we are cross-partisan, and bring up the point that across the board, studies have shown that 80% of Americans, no matter their political background, believe that money has too big of an influence in our political system. Because a lot of people, as I'm sure you've encountered when you're senator gathering, think that this is a completely leftist, progressive group when we know that we're made up of lots of different political backgrounds here. Not just Republicans or Democrats, independents, and everything in between. So that's why we say cross-partisan and not bipartisan, because we know that there are people that are not just in the two-party system that fall somewhere in the spectrum. So all of those points are really good. And Lee, thank you so much for bringing up that point on the wording, the exact wording of the ballot initiative, because that brings me into my next point about handouts. So of course, as you're speaking, people would like to take something back home with them. So I sent you all in that email a half-sheet handout. That's what we have in lieu of palm cards. And if you don't know what palm cards are, it's basically just like a cardstock piece of paper, not too big, that gives a summary of what this initiative is, and it's really pretty and has lots of cool stuff on it. We're working on ordering those now. It's just taking some time to get everything together. But until we have those palm cards out and ready, that half sheet is really good because it just gives a quick summary of what this will do, and it has our website on there, what we've done, that kind of a thing. So you can print those out and use those at your meetings. And you could also print out a wording of the actual language that's on our website. That would be super helpful for people, and you can direct them there if they have any specific questions about the wording. So those are the two things that I like to bring. I also bring buttons with me and bumper stickers. We have bumper stickers and buttons in the Cambridge office, so if you would like me to send you some, just let me know. Send me an email. And I think we have some in the Concord office as well, and if we don't, I can easily get them there. John, you have your hand up. You're unmuted.
Yeah. I spoke with the group last night, an interfaith group of about 12, 15 people. And one of the people had a really good question, I think, and she said, can you give a specific example of the problems that are created by this Supreme Court decision? In other words, how does it really work? What is an example that you think has to be corrected? And so I'm wondering whether you have examples that you'd like us to use, or whether we just we make up our own, or we research our own.
That's a great question. You can do a mixture of both. What I like to say sometimes is that money affects so many of the issues that so many people care about. So climate change, how the oil lobby is donating to politicians and making them deny science, as opposed to realizing that fossil fuels are affecting our ecosystem negatively. Or you can talk about the gun lobby, how they have so much power and influence, despite the fact that gun violence is on the rise and we need common sense gun control issues. You could also talk about...
my question is, do you get down to the level of specifics of saying this organization, the prison management, the private prison management system gave so much money, corporate treasury money, to a Trump campaign PAC or something like that?
I don't usually get into the nitty-gritty specifics. People usually just, they're able to grasp what I'm saying when I talk about, those more vague issues. But you're more than welcome to have those in your back pocket if you're comfortable with that. A great resource for that would be the United for the People website, as well as let me pull up the link to it. Open Secrets. OpenSecrets.org is a nonpartisan research think tank that researches PACs, corporations, dark money, and how it influences campaign finances and policy. Great. So OpenSecrets.org is a really, really great resource if you want to get some of that information.
Yeah, good.
No problem. Linda, you're unmuted.
Yeah. Going back to who chooses the members of this commission, since these are all like political appointees, doesn't that kind of go against what we're trying to do, that this is a citizen commission? I mean, if the Speaker of the House gets to pick 3 of his friends who applied, then it's really not representative.
Yeah, yes and no. So the commission is strictly for people that are not in office. So the Speaker of the House can't just appoint, his buddy, whatever. And then also, because these are all different offices that all have different political affiliations, it's a mix of different political backgrounds that are going to be on the commission. So it's not and those people are not colluding with each other on, okay, we're going to make sure that it's just 8 Republicans and 7 Democrats, so there's a Republican majority, because they're not voting on anything. They're just researching and writing and communicating with our elected officials specifically on this issue. So I do see what you're saying, but this is not meant to be, and the way that it's going to work, it's not going to be a political kind of strategy. It's really supposed to be about giving the people a voice again.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. So no one is holding office. What does that mean? Is that statewide? Is that if you're on the school board that you can't, be on this commission? Or and the second part is, how long is this commission going to be continuing until the amendments passed? And will there be turnover?
I think that the commission is for a year, if I'm not wrong. I'm not completely sure. I should definitely read the language again to be sure. But I don't know how long the appointments are for. I would assume it's for a year, if not the however long the person that appointed them, it's however long they're in office for. Larry has his hand up, so I'm going to unmute him.
Yes, you were right, Weboy. It's the commission lasts for a year, and at the end of the year, a report will be drafted that will go to the Massachusetts legislature, as well as being sent to the U.S. Congress and the President of the United States.
Perfect. Thank you, Larry. So helpful. Okay, Anne, you're unmuted.
I was going to just say the same thing as Larry.
Oh, great. John, did I already call on you? You're unmuted, John.
Oh, okay. Well, I did have another question. When you talk about getting big money out of politics, we've all used that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But Citizens United itself really just talks about the use of corporate treasury funds for electioneering. There's a lot of other big money in politics, individual wealthy people, and so do you make that distinction, or do you just leave it in general? Or seems to me that it would be useful to specify what we're talking about really in Citizens United. Overruling it is regulating corporate treasury or union funds in political campaigns.
Yes, so that's a good point. I say big money because, like you said, it is general, and I also am sure to say Citizens United and related court cases, because Citizens United was the most recent one and one of the most polarizing and the infamous court cases of the Supreme Court, and that's something that people that are in tune with politics immediately are able to understand. Not a lot of people know what Buckley v. Vallejo was, but they know what Citizens United was. So that's why I always am sure to specify Citizens United and related court cases, because as you clearly know, Citizens United wouldn't have been able to have happened without the precedence of other court cases that have allowed corporations to have, corporate personhood, to use money as speech, that kind of a thing. So the short answer is no, I don't go into specifics. I just keep it pretty general. Okay, Nancy, you're unmuted.
Yes, I just wanted to comment. It's my understanding that the members of the commission that will be picked by these 5 politicians are people that have submitted an interest, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So they have to pick from that pool.
Yes, they have to apply, and the application will be on the Mass Government website.
Okay. The other thing is that political action, PACs, political action, isn't
Committee.
that right? big money can go in there and they don't have to say where that money came from. Is that correct? Isn't that part of what we're dealing with here?
Yes, that's considered dark money. Yes.
Right.
So again, the phrase big money, you can also say dark money as well. Those are both terms that are related to Citizens United and what we're trying to do, and those are again terms that people recognize. So yeah, you can definitely say that. Lee, you're unmuted.
Yeah, first going back to the question about the impact of all these court decisions on sort of real life issues that people are dealing with. I'm with We the People Mass, and we've been giving educational presentations for years. In particular, one of our members has made a lot of handouts that link the problem of these court cases and to real issues, from opioid crisis to climate change to anything else. And I can look into how to get those available to you all. And the other thing is that there is a lot to know about this issue, and we believe that it's an opportunity for in a lot of cases, people will invite you for 10 minutes, but as we're working with Larry on revising our ongoing presentation called Fixing Our Broken Democracy, which is a PowerPoint, does go into all the court cases. So if anybody knows of or wants to use and give more of a full evening or hour presentation and discussion, let us know, because we answer a lot of these questions for people with a PowerPoint and script that Larry's helping us update.
Well, thank you for that, Lee. That actually
but we do have
helpful.
Probably about a dozen different sheets. Some of them are just illustrations, but we use them when somebody brings up an issue, no matter what it is, gun control or whatever. And some of them do have details, as he was asking, about the money spent to sway policy and why, we have this problem.
That's really helpful, Lee. You know what? I will connect with you after the call tomorrow, and we can see how we can share some of those documents. So if somebody gets a request for, a 30-minute presentation or an hour long, they can do that. Or if it's just something short, it's always good to have it in the back of your pocket. So thank you for letting us know about that. Marion, you're unmuted.
Yeah, this is a kind of a very focused point, but I wondered if you have an answer for teachers who are opposed to this. I've had that.
Really? What was their reason for being opposed to it? Because of the unions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good answer.
Yeah, well, what I like to say is that we're asking the unions to put down their slingshots so that the big corporations can put down their rocket ships. It's a known fact that corporations and big money outspend unions, 17-1, millions of dollars versus hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as a result of that, we know that even with the union spending that amount of money, they still don't get the type of influence that those bigger corporations have when they're spending millions and millions of dollars in campaigns throughout the country. So that's usually what I say. And at the end of the day,
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that that's the one thing that I thought of, unfortunately, after the fact, but is that hopefully this would level the playing field.
Yeah.
They would get more bang for their buck, and not be drowned out by the biggest spenders.
Right. Exactly. And also, like our elections shouldn't be about who's spending the most to get the most amount of influence. It should be about what the voters want. So those are the things that I bring up, and usually people they chuckle about the slingshot versus rocket ship thing. But yeah, thank you for that question.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on really quickly just because this call is getting a little bit long, but these are really great questions. Thank you all so much for asking. So the committee breakdown, in that document that I sent to you all in that email, I connected you all to the Yes on 2 dashboard, which is something that I'm working on and a couple of people are working on to be kind of like the landing page for all Yes on 2 documents and informational materials. And in that document, I have the outreach committee contact information. So if you're interested in doing more of these outreach opportunities, you can put down your name, what you want to do in the committee, so and your email, your phone number, and your availability for when you can do speaking engagements. And this is for when, say, if a group emails me specifically asking for a representative to come and speak to their group. Once you have your availability there, I'll be able to just call on whoever is available at that time and ask them if they can go. Additionally, on that same Google Sheet, I had shared with you the outreach committee tracking. So this is going to be where we're going to put all of the requests for outreach opportunities in there. And I've broken it down by town, city, date, time, the name of the organization that you're going to, the address, the contact person that lets you know that they want somebody at their organization or that you reached out to, that organization contacts personal information, and also it has who in our team the volunteer speaker is going to be. So as you're getting these requests, or as you are making these requests yourself, please be sure to keep that updated so that we know who's doing what and where. And I'll be sure to put any requests that I get in there and ask whoever is available for those times to do so. Are there any questions about those docs? Did everybody get those? If you didn't, please let me know on an email. And if you have any questions, just press the number 1 on your keypad before we move on. Okay, great. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so how to get an outreach meeting. I had this question on the captain's call this Monday, but essentially you do your Google. So this is what I can tell you. What I've been doing is Googling local town hall committees, Democratic town hall committees, Republican town hall committees, whatever is close nearby you, whatever political-minded group meets regularly in your town. Sometimes churches will hold voter forums, things like that. So just going online and seeing the contact information for those organizations, and reaching out to them yourself and letting them know that you're a representative of Yes on 2 and you'd like to speak at their meeting, that's a great way. You can also do the same thing on Facebook. If there's, like the Quincy Town Hall Democrats, for instance, they're really active on Facebook. I used to live in Quincy, so that's why I know. You can send them a message on Facebook letting them know that you would like to come speak, and you can do it that way. And then, of course, just be sure to input all of that information into the committee tracking. So the homework I have for all of you is just to be sure to put your contact information into the outreach committee contact form and your availability so that whenever something comes up, I can let you know, or you can let me know. Yeah, that's it. Are there any other questions before we sign off? Just press number 1. Okay. Anne, you're unmuted.
Hi. Yes, I'm sort of addressing this to Lee. Also, Lee, I did go to one of your presentations where someone gave that PowerPoint, and it was absolutely tremendous. Lots of information. So what I'm wondering is if maybe a few of us wanted to get together and look at that, and then sort of personalize it just for People Govern Not Money, so that there would be a PowerPoint that's available to anybody like us who wants to do a presentation. Does that make sense?
Lee, you're unmuted, so you can talk.
Yes, mostly. We are that's what I mentioned we're doing with Larry. We're taking the PowerPoint that had mostly ended in discussing the state legislation, and it will lead towards the ballot question.
Right.
And so, yes, we can work on sharing that. I'll talk more with Larry about it, or
okay.
Womboy.
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. So, what do you think about getting together with a few of us to sit down and do something that somebody else could share and use?
We do have a team working on it already, and I don't know. Well, you're Ann Shea or who?
Yeah.
Which Ann? Okay, we can talk more about it.
Okay.
That's a great idea, Anne. Whatever you all decide, be sure to let me know so then I can see if any other people are interested and want to come.
Yeah, so just send you an email?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay, good.
Nancy, you're unmuted.
I just wanted to know, since I'm new to all of this, I didn't get your email, so I don't have the half sheet and that sort of thing. Could you just, you have my email?
I do not. What is your email address?
N is in Nancy, A-N, COISS as in Sam @gmail.com.
COISS@gmail.com?
COISS, yeah. C as in Carol. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions? And I will send a recap email tomorrow with the websites that I include, Johannes's contact information if you have any more of those legal questions. Yeah, another thing I forgot to mention really quickly is when you're reaching out to people and asking them if they can host you to speak, ask them how long they have for you to speak. And that'll let you know what kind of a presentation you can do. If it's a longer one where you can go into more detail, or a quick 5-minute one where you're just giving the generals and making sure that they know that it's that they should vote yes on too, is most important. A last thing I just want to say really quickly is that we want to move away from saying people govern, not money, and we want to make sure that we're saying yes on too. We want to really push the yes on two branding, the yes on two message, because unfortunately when people go to the polls, they're not going to see people govern, not money. They're going to see question 1, 2, and 3. So just make sure that you're saying where I'm from the yes on two ballot initiative, as opposed to people govern, not money. Okay, are there any other questions before we sign off? Okay, Anne, you're unmuted.
Just a quick one. Do you know what the bumper sticker says?
Yes, the bumper sticker says vote yes on two, or yes on two, and then vote big money out of politics.
Oh, good. Okay, I like it.
Good. Larry, you're unmuted.
Yeah, just a quick one on that yes on two, which I absolutely agree with. I wanted to note that, though, when you go to the website of voteyesontomass.org, its URL still says peoplegovernNotMoney.org. So there's an easy way to change that, and I'd say we should change that so that people don't get confused when they go there and don't see what they tried to type in.
I agree. I wish that I knew how to change it. I know that we bought the voteyesontoMA.org as the redirect to People Govern. So I don't know if we can change it to vote yes on
you could ask, but Holly Willard's a web designer. She could help with that, I think, if you get in touch with her.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anne, you're unmuted.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm down on the Cape, and I don't know. I only know one other volunteer and one other captain. And when I look at this whole list, I happen to be glancing at who you sent the emails to. I don't know where people are from, and I'm curious if there's anybody close to me that I could sit down and talk to. So is there any way you could let me know who's in my area, like who's in Plymouth? That's not far from me, or who's in Wareham, or, I feel kind of alone down here.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. If you go to that email that I sent you, the Yes on 2 dashboard, right at the top it says general information, and then you can click on volunteer contact sheet. That gives the list of all of the captains and where they're from. And so there's two other people in the Cape actually on that sheet. Yeah, so just check that out, and it also has their contact information.
Okay, great.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, folks, I'm going to take everybody off mute so we can say goodbye. Okay, we're all unmuted. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Waboy. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Waboy. Excellent.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.